You should learn how to pronounce the word correctly. I just gave you some advice. Hi everybody, and welcome back to English class. My name is Elnora, and today we're gonna be talking about giving advice. Let's get started. But before getting into the topic, let's have a look at the expressions first. Let's read and learn some phrases of asking for advice. I've got a bad toothache. What do you suggest? What do you advise me to do? What should I do? What ought I to do? What's your advice? If you were me, what would you do? If someone is asking for your advice, sometimes it's useful to imagine yourself being in that person's position. This is a good way to explain your advice too. Remember to use an infinitive after would and not to. To make this negative, put not after would. For example, if I were you, I would go to the dentist. To make advice less direct, we can use a question to make the person we are advising consider about the advice we are giving them. Why don't you go to the dentist? With the question why don't you, we use an infinitive without to. When we use how about to make a question, we use a gerund after it. Let's read. You'd better brush your teeth regularly. You should avoid eating sweets. If you take my advice, you'll go to the dentist. It might be a good idea to brush your teeth on a regular basis. I advise you to brush your teeth on a regular basis. Have you thought about seeing a dentist? If we can't give advice in some kind of situations and just have no idea how to act, we can decline giving advice. For example, I don't know what to advise. I'm afraid. I wish I could suggest something, but I can't. I wish I could help. I'm afraid I can't really help you. Well, there are things to remember about asking for and giving advice. Advice with S is a verb. For example, I advise you to learn English. You will undoubtedly need it in your higher studies. Advice with C is a noun. For example, my father gave me this piece of advice when I was young. Never give up. There are two modal verbs we often use for giving advice, should and ought to. Both mean the same thing, but work in slightly different ways. Ought to has nearly the same meaning as should. The only difference is that ought to refers to a moral or external obligation, but should is more of an advice. For example, you ought to stop smoking. You should stop smoking. You'd better is the short form of you had better. For example, you'd better see a doctor. You had better see the doctor. We can use imperative verbs plus ing to give advice. Let's look at some more examples using your fat friend. Start going to the gym. Stop drinking so much Coke. Consider switching to brown bread and rice. Try cycling to work. Look at the tips below on how to stay fit and healthy. Decide if each tip is good or bad advice, and correct the bad tips like in the example. Don't eat a lot of fruit and vegetables. Well, it is bad advice. It should be eat a lot of fruit and vegetables. Decide on your own first, then we'll check together. Well guys, let's start checking. The first statement says, walk to the supermarket. Well, it can be good advice. The second one is, eat a lot of fast food. It is bad advice. Don't eat a lot of fast food. Don't drink a lot of water. It is bad advice. Drink a lot of water. Do some exercise every day. It is good advice. Don't drink a lot of alcohol. It is good advice too. Sleep for less than 6 hours every night. It is bad advice. Don't sleep for less than 6 hours every night. Sit at home and watch TV every evening. It is bad advice. You don't have to sit at home and watch TV every evening. Visit the doctor for a checkup once a year. And walk up and down stairs. Don't take the escalator. Well, these both are good advice. Smoke every day. It's bad advice. Don't smoke. Give your friend advice using should or shouldn't. Let me show you an example first. I'm always tired during the day. Well, my advice is, you should go to bed earlier. Do it on yourself first, then we'll check together. Let's start checking. If your friend is asking for your advice and he says, I need to lose weight, what will your advice be? You shouldn't eat so much cake. I'm very stressed these days. You should try to relax more. I feel bored. You should take up a new hobby. Well guys, keep completing the task. We shall start checking. My purse was stolen again. You shouldn't be so careless. I can't see very well. You should have an eye test. My boss is driving me crazy. You should quit your job. My phone bill is really expensive. You shouldn't use your phone all day. Well, we're going to watch a video where Paul and Bob try to help Noelia with a problem. Listen to the language they use for giving advice and practice saying the useful phrases. But before watching, we'll do the preparation task. Then watch the video and do exercises. Well, here our task is to put the words in the correct order. But let me show you an example first. Then you'll have enough time to do it on your own. The first sentence will be, what do you think I should do? Well guys, we shall start checking. If I were you, I'd talk to her. I'm not sure that's a good idea. Perhaps you could try phoning them. Why don't you try resetting the password? I tried what you suggested. Well, these were the expressions of giving advice. And now let's watch the video.
This is just ridiculous.
Susan again?
Yeah, Susan. She just keeps emailing me about things that have nothing to do with work and nothing to do with me. What do you think I should do?
Well, if I were you, I'd email and ask her to stop sending them.
I'm not sure that's a good idea. I have to be careful what I say, as she's quite an important client.
I'm not sure then. Perhaps you could try talking to Una about it.
Why don't you try doing nothing?
Sorry?
Perhaps you could just do nothing.
Really? I'm not too sure about that.
Well, I remember this guy I used to work with, Mark. And he kept emailing again and again and again about all sorts, mostly unrelated to work. Well, I kept responding politely, and he kept sending them. In the end, I stopped replying to his emails, unless they were only about work.
And what happened?
He stopped sending them. It's a bit like being faced with a dangerous snake. If you move quickly, it'll bite you. But if you keep very still and do nothing, eventually it'll move away and leave you alone. I had to learn the hard way.
Hey, Bob, have you got a minute?
Yeah.
So, I tried what you suggested, and I only responded to Susan's emails about work for a few days. Then guess what?
The irrelevant emails stopped.
Yes, now she only sends me work-related ones.
Well, that's very good news.
All thanks to you, Bob.
Anytime, Noelia, anytime. All in a day's work.
Let's define the statements if they are true or false. Do it on your own first, then we'll check. Yeah, students, let's start checking. So the statement says, Noelia is stressed because a client keeps emailing her about unimportant things. Yeah, it's true. Noelia thinks she should ask the client to stop sending emails. You're right, it's false. Noelia likes Bob's suggestion at first. No, she didn't. It's false. Bob had a similar problem in a previous job. Yeah, he had. That's true. Bob suggests that the scar on his neck is from a snake bite. That's true. Noelia follows Bob's advice and it works. That's true. Well, here your task is to choose the more polite option. Try to make it independently first, then we'll check as usual. So guys, let's start choosing the more polite option. In the first one, it will be, what do you think I should say? The second one is, I'm not sure that's a good idea. The third polite option will be, perhaps you could try calling her office. The fourth one is, why don't you try doing nothing? If I were you, I'd check with Sam first. And the last polite option is, oh, that's very good news. So guys, as you can see, there is a list of words. And our task is to complete the sentences with these words. Look attentively, I'm showing you an example. The first statement will be, what do you think I should do? You'll have enough time to do it on your own first, then we'll check together. Well guys, shall we start checking? If I were you, I'd ask her to stop. I'm not sure that's a good idea. Perhaps you could try talking to Noelia about it. Why don't you try doing nothing? Perhaps you could just do nothing. I'm not too sure about that. And the last one will be, so, I tried what you suggested. So, did you notice the useful phrases used for giving advice in the video? Listen to me and then repeat. What do you think I should do? What do you think I should do? If I were you, I'd ask her. If I were you, I'd ask her. I'm not sure that's a good idea. I'm not sure that's a good idea. Perhaps you could try talking to Yuna. Perhaps you could try talking to Yuna. Why don't you try doing nothing? Why don't you try doing nothing? I'm not too sure about that. I'm not too sure about that. I tried what you suggested. I tried what you suggested.
Hey Tony, do you mind if I ask you for some advice?
Of course not. Please go ahead.
I'm thinking about buying a new car. What kind of car should I buy?
Good question, Mindy. What is your price range?
I don't know. Something reasonable and nothing too crazy.
Why do you want a new car?
My car is very old and it often breaks down.
I see. How often do you drive?
I drive to work every day and I go shopping at the mall on the weekend.
Is that all? Do you go anywhere else?
I go to the gym 3 times a week.
I think you should buy a small, compact car.
Really? What kind should I buy?
Have you seen the new carbo models?
No, I have never heard of them.
They are very reasonable and reliable. Why don't you test drive one?
Great, I will. Thanks for your advice, Tony.
Can you give me some advice?
Sure, what's up?
My boyfriend always tries to surprise me by doing romantic things, and I want to do the same for him. I just can't think of anything. Do you think I should buy him flowers or something?
Probably not. If I were you, I would think about something he likes and do something connected with that. What is he interested in?
Well, he loves baseball.
Okay, great. Why don't you get tickets to watch his favorite team play? You can go together.
That's a nice idea. Actually, I'm not sure what his favorite team is, though.
Okay, well, you definitely ought to find out first.
I'd want to surprise him with the tickets, though. How can I find out his favorite team without him asking questions?
You could try asking him next time he's watching a game on TV. Ask him which team he wants to win.
That might work. Which game should I get tickets for?
When you know his favorite team, I recommend that you check their schedule on their website. That way, you'll be able to choose a convenient date for you and your boyfriend.
That's a great idea. Thanks, John.
Try and use some of these phrases next time you give advice in English. Bye for now.